Bureau because what are we all getting? We're getting all our tax forms and everything else in the mail. We're all thinking about, hey, I've got to, when am I going to get my taxes in? When am I going to get my refund? So how do we stay ahead of the tax ID thieves? Well, that's what Nancy is going to tell us about today. Good morning.
Good morning. Yeah, that lovely time of year when we start thinking of income tax. But the scammers are too. So they use the Social Security numbers of unsuspecting Americans to file phony tax returns and steal our refunds. So, maybe we should file early before they have a chance to do this. And that is actually the best way to avoid tax identity theft, to file your taxes as early as possible. If that's not possible, then we have some tips to talk about this morning.
All right. Well, yeah, let's get into some of those tips because, those con artists, again, once they've got that Social Security number, yikes. Now, does it matter when I file my taxes? Am I more exposed to if I'm a late filer than an early filer?
Well, yeah, because you're giving the scammers an opportunity to file before you do. So, So that's the thing. You'll sort it out eventually, but the IRS actually has a whole website devoted to this. So that's how common a problem it is. So this isn't, something that has no risk. This is very risky. Yeah. And I think during COVID, we heard a lot about scammers doing this, and they're continuing to do it. So the IRS has put this protection plan in place where they give you an identity protection PIN when you file. And if you take advantage of this service, you need to have your social and the PIN in order to file every year from that point on. So it's a great service, but once you commit to it, if you don't have the PIN, you can't file either. So, I recommend it. And just let's put that in a safe place, and maybe a couple of safe places, just in case you forget where you put it. So it's something to really consider. Online filers that go to the IRS website and expect a refund. So how it works is you might expect a refund, but you get a written notice from the IRS in the mail. It might say that more than one tax return has been filed using your social. So,
what a nightmare!
Yes, I can't imagine.
I can't imagine getting that.
So, I mean, it's really what puts more fear into you. It's like the IRS has really a lot of power. So what happens? Scammers, they get a hold of your personal information. We know they do that every day. We know that they buy and sell that information on the dark web. Usually they'll have your social security number, your address, and your birth date. If they have that, they can file early and get your refund before you even get around to filing. So it's pretty sneaky because you don't know it's happened until you file your taxes and find out somebody beat you to it.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. Nancy, is it, right now, at this time of year, there's H&R Block, but on my walker with the dog just around my neighborhood, I must have like 3 of these, tax preparation services that have popped up in the last couple of months. They weren't there 3 months ago. They're there now. They won't be there 6 months from now. Should I be a little worried about those guys?
Well, it is kind of a seasonal business. But before you choose a tax preparer, you need to know some things about that. You need to know what type of tax preparer is right for you, because there are a number of different types of state preparers. And there's an enrolled agent, and that is a tax preparer who's been approved by the IRS. They must either have prior qualifying employment with the IRS or pass an intensive 2-day exam on federal taxation and a complete background check. So that's an enrolled agent. That might be a good option for you if you have a very complex tax situation. However, you may not need that expertise. You could go to a CPA, a certified public accountant. They have a college degree or equivalent in work experience. They're licensed after passing a state professional qualifying exam, and they're highly skilled in accounting. So they make very good candidates for this as well. Attorneys can charge a higher fee than tax preparers. So there are tax attorneys, and you might, if you're looking to shelter part of your income legally, or you have specialized advice on municipal bonds or estate planning or things like that, you might want to go to a tax attorney. But the bulk of us go to non-credentialed tax preparers, and there are about 700,000 people, like all the ones you're talking about, who work as non-credentialed tax preparers in the United States. And they often work part-time just during the tax season because it is kind of a seasonal job.
Right.
You don't have landscapers in the winter. So these preparers must have an active preparer tax identification number, that's PTIN, through the IRS. So that's something that they need to have. But beyond that, the regulation is really on a state level, and there are only a handful of states that require licensing or registration. So anyone can prepare tax returns for other people. You don't have to take an exam. You don't have to get a license. You don't have to comply with government regulations. I mean, it's you're right to be a little concerned. You really need to do your homework when you're choosing that tax preparer to make sure that they're the right choice for you.
Yeah, I mean, because the scammers are, going to just find all different kinds of ways. But you also want to make sure that you have that right, good tax preparer who's going to stand behind you as well. What else are we on the lookout for?
Well, if you need to watch out for the red flags. You might get a written notice from the IRS that there's a duplicate return, or you might get a notice stating you received wages somewhere you never worked. So that means somebody used your Social Security number for wages somewhere else. Another big red flag would be if you receive a notice that says you have additional taxes owed, and the refund will offset that, or a collection action is being taken against you. So things like this, you need to go directly to the IRS. They have a ton of information. And, there's a lot of words there, but I found it easy to understand. So I suggest that people go straight to the IRS website if they are looking for more information or they're concerned. Protect your Social Security number. Don't give it out unless there's a very, very good reason. And if your Social Security number is compromised and you know or suspect you're a victim of tax-related identity theft, contact the IRS immediately.
Yeah.
Return, if they respond to any of these notices you might get from them, call the number that they provide you. There's actually an identitytheft.gov website. I mean, that's how big a problem it is. There's a whole website devoted to this, and there's a lot of tools for identity theft victim assistance through the IRS. So it's a big deal. It's unfortunately common and getting more common, and the best protection you have is to file early. And not often, just early.
They frown on that, but yes, and I'll see that, and that's something that I know that you've told us this in the past, but to file early is just a good piece of advice. That way you get in before any kind of a scammer, because here's the thing, with that, when you get that letter from the IRS saying, hey, you already filed, you didn't know that your identity had been stolen. You didn't know that somebody had gotten your Social Security number somehow.
Exactly. So it's important that you choose the right preparer, and you want to make sure that they don't make crazy promises to
Yeah.
you. If they say, "Oh, we're going to get you a big refund," or get referrals from your friends and family. Look them up on bbb.org, and think about availability. Are they going to be around if there's an audit? Are they going to be available to help you? That's really important too. So if things don't add up, there's plenty. There's 700,000 of them out there. There's plenty. If they don't add up, move along and pick somebody else.
Absolutely. Great advice as always. Nancy Cahalen, Better Business Bureau right here, Central Massachusetts. Thank you so much.
Oh, you're very welcome. Thanks again for having me on.
Hey,